nick of the ball by Didier Drogba. Yeah, it's the greatest night in Chelsea history. Champions of Europe at last.
Welcome to the Blue Stands podcast, episode number 2. Thank you, everyone, for joining us once again. Hopefully, you guys had a very, very good experience for the first episode. And as I said, I'm hoping to bring, we are hoping to bring at least one episode a week. So this week, it's an interesting topic that we want to talk about. As you guys know, there's no football happening at the moment, and it just makes it very, very difficult to talk about a particular match or particular series of play or whatnot. But one thing that's getting talked about a lot in recent times, and it's the case every time when there's no football on, is a whole heap of rumours, hot days everywhere. Everyone's an expert, everyone's in the know, and whole sorts of transfer links that's happening on a day-to-day basis. So I thought, let's talk about some of these transfer links, and not going to touch on some of the very usual transfer links. We're going to talk about the ones that don't really get talked about too much and find out whether they're realistic, they make sense or not, and get the opinions. Now, before I get into all of that, I want to introduce my guests for today, who are not only great personalities in football Twitter, good people, good accounts, but they're also contributors to the Blue Stands. They write regularly for us, and I'm sure you guys would have come across some of their articles. First of all, hello to Ajay Franklin. How you doing, Ajay?
Hi, Miss. How are you? And I hope everyone's having a good day.
Nice. How's the lockdown treating you, man?
To be honest, it's been fine. Actually, I'm pretty grateful that we actually have a good, place to stay and, pass time during this lockdown. There are real people out there who are fighting, so more power to them during this time.
No, well said. Absolutely well said. Shrey, how you doing, my man?
I'm very good, man. And I wish everyone is very good at this time.
Nice. And how are you finding the lockdown? How are you coping with things with no football happening at the moment?
Right now it's going just like a bit tad boring, but I've got some people around in my play and pass my time, and I wish everybody is enjoying this time.
Nice. Well, great to have a nice quick introduction from both of you boys. Let's get really stuck into some of these rumours. I'm sure we've got a lot to talk about from these things. Get your opinions on these matters, and hopefully the viewers get a nice episode out of it. First of all, boys, I want to talk about the Mertens rumour, which is, we've heard a little bit about it. It's come out probably around January, when the January transfer window was open. Obviously, we had our transfer ban that was, removed, and a whole heap of, strikers rumours were going around. And, one that really, really looked like Frank Lampard was really trying to get was Mertens from Napoli. Now, I'll go to Shrey first. Shrey, what's your thoughts on, of course, I haven't seen too many rumours since the January window, but it has come up every now and then. How realistic and how much does this particular rumour make sense to you?
I think in time of January, it was coming like that Mertens wants to break the record of Napoli for the highest goal scorer. So he was trying to stay there. And I think Inter Milan has been linked with him. So I think that's coming to wages, to be honest. I think if Chelsea pay the wages that's required, we'll get Mertens, to be honest. But for me, the thing is the wages might come as a hinder, because I remember the Chelsea Twitter accounts was reporting that he was asking for very high wages. So I think that might come in between the deal.
Right. So to be honest, I think you're the first one that I've heard this from in regards to linked with Inter Milan. I've not come across that. Then again, I'm not always across everything. So tell me more about this whole Inter Milan. I did hear about the Napoli thing, that he wants to stay on and score more goals, and that's one of his ambitions, to be known as the highest goal scorer for Napoli, which is a fantastic achievement, obviously. But tell me more about this Inter Milan links, and being, I think, he's 33 now at the moment.
I think 33.
Yeah, asking for a lot of money, which I don't know how much sense that makes. But tell me more about this Inter Milan link, because I haven't heard too much about it.
I think I heard it, I was scrolling around and I followed some accounts. So I was seeing that Inter Milan have been linked with him and have contacted him. Same with Chelsea. I think we were looking for him as a Giroud replacement, to be honest, because one way we let the wages of Giroud go, and on the other hand, we can pay Dries Mertens and have an experienced player partnering Tammy Abraham. I think that's what we have been looking for, because Chelsea board considers Tammy Abraham as a future of Chelsea, so they don't want to hamper his progress. That's what I've heard for. But to be honest, I'm not on the side of Mertens to coming to Chelsea.
Right. So for you, what I want to ask now, I guess, to get your final opinion on Mertens before we go to AJ, is this realistic, and does this make sense for you?
I think at first, if it's realistic, then yes, I think it's realistic, because if we pay the wages, he's going to be free in the summer. And I think at Napoli, if he doesn't extend his contract, then it's realistic. Now, up to the second point, is it realistic? Is it make sense? For me, it doesn't make sense for me, because first of all, we have to pay a very, very high wages for him. And for me, I have a lot of trust in Giroud. So if we want to have an experienced player partnering someone, I think Giroud makes more of a sense, and we should go for a much better player who can contribute Chelsea more in the future. With Mertens, I've seen a lot of him. Like, I watched Serie A. I watched a lot of Serie A, Fiorentina. So Mertens is a fantastic player. There's no doubt. But also he is like age of 33, and he has declined a bit to the Mertens we know. So paying ludicrous wages for him doesn't make sense, especially when we have got players like Giroud who can partner Tammy Abraham for the coming future.
Well said, man. Well said. AJ, what's your thoughts on the whole Mertens piece? Personally, I'm probably someone who thinks this makes sense. I just tweeted literally 10 minutes before you guys came on that for me, Mertens makes a lot of sense in the concept of he's very, very versatile. I feel, and Lampard's looking for someone who's versatile. However, if he comes on, I feel Giroud would still have to stay, because we need something a bit different. Of course, as Shrey was saying, Tammy Abraham for me is also going to be the leading man next season. But we do need, it's a long season. We'll play so many games, as you guys have seen. Mertens gives a lot of versatility. He can play many different areas. And Giroud is something different, which, we can't let go of. So my whole idea is that, it definitely makes sense, and it definitely is realistic because it's free. But what's your thoughts on the whole Mertens piece?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, that he's really versatile. That's something that I've always liked about Mertens. And in regard to that, with Willian leaving and Pedro leaving, and us not having a well-defined central attacking midfielder, I think Mertens make a lot of sense. But I don't think he's the one who should be playing up front, because Chelsea's style has always been a more of a target man style. We have excelled with the Drogba's or the Costas, and even Abraham has actually done pretty well this season because of his height and his ability to hold up the ball. So for me, Mertens makes sense because of his versatility. But if he's going to be the one to lead the line, even as a second choice striker, I don't think that makes sense for me. Because I think he would make much more sense in a wing and a more attacking midfield position rather than up front, because that's never been our style of play. And we know Lampard wants someone who can bring his wingers and his midfielders more forward, which is why Giroud has been successful under Lampard and even under Sarri. Like, that's Giroud's game. Which is why I'll always, like Shrey said, I will always. But if Giroud were to leave, then the only other person that I personally feel would be a good fit for Chelsea would be Jimenez. But in like a striker role. If it was Mertens, it makes sense if we plan to use him on multiple positions and not just for a centre forward.
No, it makes sense. I think you make a valid point that if Tammy was ever to be injured, touch wood, Mertens is not really a direct replacement. It's not how we play our football. As you said, we've always played in the style of, Drogba and Costa, that lone striker with big physique, can play on his own. And Dries Mertens really doesn't fit that bill. However, he does provide that versatility. But as you said, that versatility is going to be with Tammy Abraham. It's not going to be without Tammy Abraham. So, in your opinion, just the final words on Mertens, does it make sense? Is it realistic?
It makes sense if we're holistic. So in that aspect, yeah, he makes sense. And he's definitely realistic. As long as the wages aren't too high, I think we should try to get him, maybe at least for a season. Because this market for wingers right now isn't too great, and we don't know the situation with Sancho or any other of the wingers at the moment currently. So this would be a really great backup option for Chelsea if they don't get their wing targets.
Nice. Cool. All right, let's move on to the next player. So I think more or less we've sort of disagreed on Dries Mertens from both AJ, Shrey, and myself. Let's now move on to the next one, which is, let's talk about Declan Rice. I don't know too much about Declan Rice. I want to see what you guys know about him. Once again, I'll start with Shrey on this one. With Declan Rice, Shrey, I've watched maybe a handful of games for West Ham this season. And personally, I can't see anything special about this particular player. There's a lot of hoo-ha and lots of excitement from certain fans in our fan base. They want to see Declan Rice play for Chelsea. Apparently, he does all the simple things right, and he may not be pretty on the ball, but he does all the defensive work, and he knows how to see it. Whatever it is, they still need to have some sort of ball playing ability. They still need to be very, very dynamic. It's not just doing defensive work. They've got to have a whole heap of other aspects of their game. What's your thoughts on the whole Declan Rice situation? Rumours linking him with Chelsea.
I think what about Declan Rice I found is, I've seen some matches of England, and some matches of West Ham, not much of it, but what I've found is that at England, our fans, we have to be very real. We have so many technical players. Like we have Jorginho, we have got Kovacic, we have got Billy Gilmour. So I think our fans have that attraction towards like a physical player who will do the defensive duties that Kante performs. Right. But unfortunately, Kante has been injured. But the thing with me that I have a problem with Declan Rice is, I'm not bashing him. He's a good player.
Yeah.
He's doing very well at a club like West Ham. And I think his next step could be a club like Everton, like a club at the upper range. But at Chelsea, the thing is that if West Ham are asking for around 60 million, then that's pathetic price to pay for him when there's so many players in his category, like Thomas Partey, like Wilfred NBD, who could do a better job. Because first of all, what I've seen of Frank Lampard is, people who are in today's Twitter, they think that Frank Lampard was a player who used to only score goals, but nobody remembers he was very technical.
Yeah. Yep.
With Declan Rice, what I've seen is that Declan Rice can do the defensive work. He can play a centre back, so he could be versatile. But one thing he lacks is he cannot do a build-up like what Jorginho does, what Kovacic does. And our midfield, for me, the biggest struggle our midfield right now has is it doesn't have goals in it because our Loftus-Cheek is injured. So for me, I'll much rather have a player like Coutinho or a Savage than going for and paying 60 odd million for Declan Rice.
Well said, man. Well said. That's exactly how I think as well. Many people, when they say they want Declan Rice, I think they fail to realize what you just said, that where's the goals going to come still, unless you're thinking Declan Rice will play with Ruben Loftus-Cheek and whatnot. But we don't need him. As you said, we've got Kante. If we keep Kante, then that's fantastic. But the injury cloud is a bit of an issue. But then we've also got Ampadu, who's on loan, could come back. Final thoughts on Declan Rice? Realistic, unrealistic, makes sense? What's your thoughts?
I think on realistic, to be honest, it looks realistic because with Chelsea board, we have seen the targets our board keeps targets very we don't scout other leagues. It's just like to scout England players. But because for me, it doesn't look like a Bakayoko type deal because this player is experienced and he knows the Premier League. But for me, what I find problem is that I think Chelsea board will think that he has some good abilities, he's physical, and will not look at players like Thomas Partey, who like could do the job at like much lesser price. So I think it's realistic, but I wish it doesn't happen. On on if it makes sense. For me, see, it doesn't make sense. Nothing against the player. I think he's a good player. He has done good for West Ham. But at Chelsea, for me, we already have Jorginho. I think Ampadu could fill the physical aspect of the game. I think Loftus-Cheek, if we see the Loftus-Cheek we saw when he was injured, I think you have to remember what Loftus-Cheek did with. I think they had a physical duel when they had a match against West Ham when we won 2-0 by Hazard's two goals, if you remember.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
Loftus-Cheek really like handled the West Ham midfield really well.
Yeah.
So
I think there's a clip where Loftus-Cheek really spun Declan Rice or something.
Yeah,
like
really spun him.
Yeah.
He spun him around. So I think the thing with that is we have players like Kante. If Kante is fully fit, Loftus-Cheek is fully fit, and we have Ampadu, we don't need a player like Declan Rice. We need a player like Coutinho for me instead. So for me, it doesn't really make a sense to go for Declan Rice.
Brilliant. All right, AJ, your thoughts on Declan Rice? Have you watched enough of him? Do you know much about this particular player? First of all, tell me, how much do you rate this particular player?
For me, Declan Rice he's like a very consistent player, but he's consistently good. He's just not great. I don't think he's like a stand-up player. Yeah. So if you recall, like when we first signed Matic, I don't think a lot of Chelsea fans had a lot of expectations from him because we had already let him go and then signed him back. But then Mourinho had a proper philosophy and was able to bring the best out of Matic at that point. So for me, I feel like a defensive player who's there solely for the purpose of defensive work fits only in a two-man midfield. Matic played along with the Fabregas, and then we had a Kante and Matic midfield. So those type of players who know their duty is to only sit and defend works only in a two-man midfield. We play with 4-3-3, which means we have one deep line midfielder and two CMs, which makes we need a person in that midfield who can not only defend but can also pass. Because if that person is not good at passing, we're going to constantly lose the ball in that midfield. So for me, Declan Rice, like you mentioned, is not technically great. So it wouldn't make sense for me for us to have such a player. See, we talk about Jorginho, and I like a lot of people talk about Jorginho not being defensively strong. And I feel like at least his system needs another playmaker. We need goal scoring midfielders to set his feed his system properly, because our issue is we played Kovacic, Kante and Jorginho, and Kante and Kovacic, neither of them are goal scoring midfielders, and that was our main issue because we never had anyone who could carry the passes from Jorginho into an attack. Kovacic, I've always seen throughout the season, though he was really amazing, he would always go up to the final third and then pass the ball to the winger, and that was always frustrating to see because watching Frank Lampard and Ramirez play, and we always thought, we wanted someone to shoot the ball from outside the box. So like you mentioned, like if there is a Loftus-Cheek, we know Loftus-Cheek can do that. And if there's a Coutinho, we know there's a Coutinho can do that. And our style is possession based. So we are heavily reliant on someone who can keep the ball. And because Kante and Matic really suited our counter-attacking style, we needed someone who could break up the attack. We don't need that kind of a player actually at the moment. Like a lot of fans think Jorginho's defensive work is bad. But I feel like if we keep hold of the ball better, we don't actually need a player who's extremely defensive. He wouldn't suit the system. But of course, at the end of the day, like, if Frank Lampard really himself wants Declan Rice, then I wouldn't be against it because he's the coach and I have 100% faith in him. And I would give it a shot because I trust him. But if it's just rumors, the people are contemplating, then I really don't think it makes sense in any way.
Nah, well said, man. I think the point that you've made here is that the way we play, the style that we play, as you said, it's a possession-based style. Most games, as both of you guys will agree, we always got about 60% possession, 65% possession.
65% possession.
You need players that are good with the ball, and yes, of course, good in defense, but mostly good with the ball because you need to be able to, if
it's
you've got
like
65%.
It's like you need to be 60% attacking and 40% defensive. I feel like that's the style we.
Exactly right. When you have that much possession, you need to be able to find good passes. You've got to have a good passing range. So yeah, I think that is yet to be seen with Declan Rice. Some may disagree with that, but overall, I don't think he's got the ability. I think few people have said, when England has tried to play from the back, Declan Rice, when he's involved, they don't look good. They don't look good at all because he's just not capable of doing that. So, final thoughts, AJ, just to recap. Declan Rice, realistic, unrealistic, makes sense for you?
It doesn't make sense, obviously, for me. Considering if we're going to continue to play in the same way that we do, unless there's going to be a shift in our style, I really don't think Rice is going to be the right person for us. And at the same time, I don't think we actually need a midfielder at the moment, a deep midfielder at the moment. Do I think it's realistic? Knowing Chelsea, yeah, if they have enough rumours built up around a person, chances are to actually get them for the price. But to be honest, I don't think it's the right decision if they do get it.
So both of you guys, and I think myself as well, will pretty much agree that knowing Chelsea, this could be realistic, but it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. That's very well said about Declan Rice. Now, moving on to Victor Osimhen. This rumor has come about in the last probably 24 to 48 hours. I made a video as well, so here's a nice plug for you guys. Go and check out that video if you guys haven't seen. I'm sure you've probably already seen, but anyone who's listening, go and check out my video on Victor Osimhen after this if you have some time. So this particular rumor has come out in the last 24 to 48 hours. It's a player that Frank has seen this season in the Champions League, and Frank has said a few times that he likes to see the player that he wants to get. So Ziyech is someone he's seen firsthand. Victor Osimhen's another one. I personally, before I go to Shrey again, I personally think this particular player is he's going to be a big star.
He's very good.
I honestly think he's going to be a big star. I haven't watched too much of Lille. I've watched a little bit of clips when I was doing my research yesterday. I watched obviously the Chelsea game against Lille this season, and he looked pretty solid, explosive pace as well. But from some of the highlights I saw yesterday, some clips I saw yesterday, he is one phenomenal youngster. He's 21, 6'1". It's got a lot of strength. He could definitely play the lone striker role. Easy, hands down, he could play that. As I said, aerially, he's very good as well. So, Shrey, tell me how much you know about this particular player, whether you've actually been seeing him or not. What's your thoughts on his abilities and being able to play for Chelsea?
See, I haven't seen much of him, to be honest. I only saw him in the 3 or 4 matches, two were against Chelsea, and I saw Lille play against Valencia. So I saw him in just 2 or 3 matches. So what I found about this guy is I think he looks a good player. I think he's a target man. So I think he has, like you said, his height is 6'1", and I've seen some of his goals. So if you remember, he scored a corner against Chelsea.
Yeah, the header.
So he has looked good. See, I don't know much about him because we might see 4 or 5 clips of a player and we might think he's world class. We still aren't sure about him. But one thing that I found very amazing about this guy is that, first of all, he has got good aerial ability in him, which I found a bit struggling in Tammy Abraham. I think Reece James has been putting crosses, and we have seen Tammy Abraham struggling to judge and to be aerially ready to fill that crosses. I think Giroud has done better than that in Tammy Abraham's regard. So Osimhen, first of all, is very young. He's only going to get better and better for me. And I think yesterday, Vince put it very nicely. Vince, there's a Chelsea account, Blue Footy, and he really showed good stats. Yeah, he put very good stats on Osimhen, and I think he looks a really good player. But the price that's been reported is very high, to be honest.
Yeah, I think the price is something that's makes this whole thing unrealistic. So what's your from the little that you've seen, realistic for you? Makes sense for you?
I think for realistic, I don't think Chelsea will go for him. because I can't see Chelsea paying around 100 for Sancho and like 670 to 80, I believe, for Osimhen. I can't see Chelsea paying this amount of money for two players. So for me, it's not realistic. But for me, if it makes sense or not, I think it will make sense in 1 or 2 years.
Right.
I think
So
if we
you'd
can
want
keep
to.
Giroud, yeah, I want to have this player. I think if we can keep Giroud for next year and like Giroud could be back up to Tammy Abraham, and I think we could have Coutinho, Ziyech, Loftus-Cheek like contributing in the goals regard, and we can keep a player like Giroud. And next year the price will be reduced, his contracts could be reduced, and then we can negotiate a better price. And to have Tammy Abraham and Osimhen, two youngsters in the future, could be very like appealing for Chelsea Football Club.
Yeah. No, well
So
said,
it
man.
makes sense.
Brilliant. AJ, your thoughts? How much have you seen of Osimhen? As I was saying to Shrey and you as well, that for me, Osimhen fits the bill. 100% fits the bill of the kind of strikers we've had previously. He's also been touted as the next Drogba in the French league. As I said, he's the way he plays. I feel personally he's probably a little bit better than Drogba probably at this stage. But then again, it's two different leagues. You've got the English Premier League where Tammy is playing, which is a lot tougher than the French league that Osimhen is playing. But from the skill set that I've seen so far of Osimhen, being able to play all by himself, there's so many goals where he gets a long ball straight to him, he chests it down, and then he just takes on 2-3 defenders all by himself, beats them with pace, and then unleashes an unbelievable shot. And he's very lethal in the box as well. So what's your thoughts? How much have you seen of Osimhen? And what can he bring for Chelsea?
He's a great signing for us. He'd be a great signing for us if we do get him. But he has all the ability that we were looking for in a striker. He's tall, he's strong, he has a great targetman capability, and I think he would work out really well at Chelsea. But the only issue being that I feel like he's not someone who would be willing to sit on the bench, and that would be the only issue because he has a great goal scoring record and he has a high fee that they're charging. So I don't think Chelsea would be willing to pay that much for someone they're going to put on the bench. And that's my only issue with this transfer because I think it makes a lot of sense to us, but I think it's completely unrealistic.
Nice. So yeah, I think I agree with both of you guys, and you both have said similar things. I mean, obviously Shrey has said that even though it may make sense, but it probably will make more sense in next couple of years as opposed to now being young. Osimhen is only 21, and then I probably agree. Maybe he needs to stay in League One for one more season, really do well. But then who knows if he does really well, then we might be priced out, and someone like Real Madrid or someone big could come in and bid for him. But as you both have said, it's probably unrealistic with the price tag that they've Lille has put on him at the moment, and it's understandable why they've done that because he is a very, very hot property at the moment. So let's move on to the next one, Samuel Chukwueze. Now, once again, I'll go to Shrey. I noticed this player probably about 5-6 months ago when Vince, as you were saying, Blue Footy, who's part co-owner of this particular publication, the Blue Stands. He wrote something about Chukwueze, and he was saying that this player is going to be a very, very big player. And off the back of that, I did my video thread analysis. I'm sure you guys would have seen what I do. I did one on Chukwueze. That was probably one of my very, very early threads I've ever done on players. And I was really, really impressed on what I saw. Having said that, he's still a very, very young player. Stats are not that great in La Liga, I don't think, but the raw potential is immense. The way he can play the right wing sort of area, he's a very, very left-footed player. Once again, devastating pace, amazing left foot, the way he can, drift from the left and then cut in, drift from the right and then cut in on his left. Very much like Robin, of course, is, nothing compared to Robin at the moment, but it kind of gives you that kind of vibe. Someone who can drift from the right and cut in and truly devastate the opponents. He's recently come out and he said that as a child, his childhood team was Chelsea, and when we lost the Champions League against Man United, he couldn't sleep. He cried all night, and he really supports Chelsea. So, Shrey, what's your thoughts, man? How much do you like this player? Do you like him at all? Is he going to be someone who we could benefit with having in our team?
I think, I won't lie, I've seen some of his videos, and I was comparing him with stats against Willian and Hakim Ziyech. So if we see his stats, then everybody will put him aside because his stats are not that good, to be honest. I think he's got 3 goals and 1 assist in La Liga this year, just like we see with Willian. So his stats are not that good, to be honest. But if you see the player, I have seen 2 or 3 clips from him. So the player has, just like you described him earlier, he has got an immense potential. The bursting pace, he has got a potential. But for me, I've always dreamed of Chelsea having 2 left wingers with left foot. I think what I've struggled is at City, you see Bernardo Silva and Mahrez as the right, Sane and Sterling at the left. So I'm not asking for this type of players, but they have got 2 players who have got left foot in them. We used to have a player like this in Malouda, so it used to give us some edge over other teams. But I think with Hakim Ziyech coming, so I'm not that concerned. But I will love Samuel Chukwueze to be part of Chelsea, because the thing that we have found a bit struggling is we have got Pulisic, we have got Hudson-Odoi, we have got Hakim Ziyech. For me, Pulisic and Hudson-Odoi are still very young, so expecting much of them is very unfavorable if we ask them to get big goal contribution like what Hazard used to do for us. Only Ziyech is the player who you can see that he can contribute 10 goals, not 10 goals, 10 assists. I cannot see Pulisic and Hudson-Odoi contributing in that regards. So Samuel Chukwueze could be a player we can build in the future, but right now I think it just doesn't make sense to go for him.
No, well said, man. I think, as you said, he could be someone who can be involved in many goals, have lots of goal involvement. But as you said, and I've said as well, that he's another prospect. We don't need more prospects. We've got plenty of prospects in our team. We need some finished products now. We need some experience. And that's why we're seeing the players like Ziyech, who's 27, has played in the highest level of European football in Champions League and whatnot. And he knows what it takes to be a top player. So, Chukwueze, as you said, with Pulisic and Callum Hudson-Odoi, we've already got enough. And knowing that we've already got Ziyech, it just doesn't make more sense at all. And it probably is not so realistic. But AJ, man, how much of Chukwueze have you seen?
Chukwueze, like you mentioned, that he's a prospect. And I don't think Chelsea really need a prospect at the moment, because a lot of our issues this season has been the fact that we aren't scoring enough goals. And seeing his, goal scoring record, I wouldn't blame him because he's 20 years old. I still feel like, we need to wait at least a season or 2 to see exactly what type of a player he's shaping up to be, so that we could actually sign him eventually, maybe in a few years' time.
Nice. No, actually, I definitely agree with you in the sense that he might be something that we might go back to in a couple of years' time. He's just probably not someone that makes sense now, even though he's so keen to play for us. He loves the club a lot, but there's always the right time, and for him it's not the right time at the moment. As I think Shrey was mentioning as well, and yourself as well, AJ, that he has to really do well in La Liga first. He really needs to conquer that first, do well, and then he can start thinking about going abroad or trying out another different league. Now,
I wouldn't have any issue with him joining us if it weren't for the fact that we already have a lot of young players in the wings. Maybe in a couple of years, when we have a little bit more seasoned players, I feel like it would be much more easy for him, because there would be much less sort of pressure for him to, adjust with the league, and there'll be less demand for him to score almost as often as he needs to.
Yeah. No, spot on, man. Spot on. I think as we can all say and agree that it probably doesn't make sense and it's definitely not realistic at the moment. Now, let's move on to the final target before we wrap up the show. Ben Chilwell, he's another one that we've been talked about a lot, but in a different sense, because I think the fan favourite for the left back position is Alex Telles. The majority of the fans want Alex Telles. I did a thread yesterday, I think, about Grimaldo, and Grimaldo looks really, really good. I don't understand how we're not even thinking about getting Grimaldo, but we are after Alex Telles. Alex Telles is good, but Grimaldo looks fantastic. But nonetheless, let's get back to Ben Chilwell. There was some talks about Ben Chilwell, Alex Telles not happening. He might be going to PSG. PSG could be taking him away from us if the rumors are true. And lots of people were talking about that. Frank really is looking towards Ben Chilwell anyway. He finds that he's the right man for us for the left back position. I'll start with AJ here, and then we'll finish off with Shrey. AJ, how much of Ben Chilwell have you seen?
Yeah.
How much of Leicester's game have you seen? Do you think he's a massive upgrade to the left backs that we already have, Emerson, Alonso, and even Azpilicueta, who can fill in left back as well. What's your thoughts on Ben Chilwell, performing for us?
Yeah, I've watched actually quite a few Leicester games this season, and to be honest, he started the season pretty well. Like, he had a really good start of the season, and once we were linked to him, I wanted Chelsea to make him as a top transfer target in January if the ban was lifted. That's how good he started the season. But then he showed that he wasn't entirely consistent throughout the season, and which I think that is really important in a player, because whether you're good or average, you still need some level of consistency so that a team can be built around you, or a team can be formed. Because no matter how good a player you are, if you cannot keep your consistency up, then you're as good as not existing in the team. And I don't think that's a good thing for a player. But I still feel that he has a lot of potential to be a really good player at Chelsea. But my only concern is his consistency, because he's definitely an upgrade on Emerson, who I feel like is a little weak and injury prone at Chelsea, and Alonso, who is definitely defensively, he lacks a lot. But what I will tell is that Alonso did surprise us in the middle of the season, where he actually started playing at a 4-man back at left back, and he actually played pretty well those games that he was playing, even though he's used to playing at left wing back. But I don't know. Again, see, Alonso is also the type of player who would play well one game and then play terrible the next game. So, in my opinion, I would really like Chilwell, but I really don't think it would be a good move if he isn't consistent for us, and we should really look for someone who's more reliable at left back.
No, fair enough. In your opinion, does it make sense for you, this particular transfer? Is it realistic?
It does make sense to me, because as a player, I think he's really good, and I think he suits the system that Lampard wants to build around. He needs someone who is able to attack and defend, and someone who can get across much more ahead, because we know that Reece James is going to be putting in a lot of crosses from the left, right-hand side for Chelsea, and we need someone of an equal caliber at least who could somehow replicate what he does on the right and on the left. But is it realistic? I don't think so, because Leicester are really, again, they're quoting a really high amount for him. And I think that would be the only reason why we don't end up signing him. Otherwise, if Chelsea break the bank for him, I would really be surprised if they spend £80 million on their left back.
Yeah, it's. I think that's the side that makes it very unrealistic for me. That he's, I think, about 60 to 65 million pounds.
65 million.
Which is, if we're going to pay that type of money for a left back, we might as well just get the world's best left back. Add another 20, 30 million and just get yourself the best left back out there. But to Shrey now, how much of Ben Chilwell have you seen? Have you followed, as AJ was saying, he's seen quite a bit of Leicester, and And I tend to agree as well. I think Ben Chilwell in the beginning of the season was playing really, really well, but then he kind of died from the middle of the season. What's your thoughts about Ben Chilwell?
See, he has Ajay really put it really well. I think in the first start, he really started well. I saw Leicester matches. I think you have to say the same for every Leicester player except Vardy. I think they all fell off the ladder after the start they had. Their form has gone down. The manager's push has gone out. And Chilwell has really looked bad. The last match I watched of Leicester was Man City, if you remember. When Man City won 1-0. I think he was really being caught out, and he never looked like a left back you want to pay 60 odd million for.
Yeah.
I think I remember the Sandro deal. I think you remember Alexandro when we had the rumours to sign him for 65 million. Now that's a left back you pay 70 odd million for.
Yep.
And I think I remember Marina Granovski had some dealings with Juventus, and we were fighting over like 5 or 6 million for Alexandro. and now they're ready to pay 70 odd million for Chilwell.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah, I agree with Ajay. He really says that if Frank Lampard wants him, then he deserves his target, and then he has to be judged upon it. If Chilwell doesn't become the player we want him to, then Frank will get the criticism he deserves. But if he really wants him, then I think we should get him that. But only thing I have doubt about Chilwell is he has the potential. We all know that the guy has the potential to be a good player in future. But right now, if you want to pay 60 million for a left back, there are Grimaldo, Telles, Jose Gaya, I think, who have like better profile and better ability than him for me in terms of left back.
Tagliafico as well. I think the Ajax player.
Ajax player, because I saw Jose Gaya in the 2 matches we had against Valencia, and some of the crosses he put, I think we struggle in crosses. Alonso, Emerson. So I think the crosses he put in that match, on that day only decided we should go for Jose Gaya, and I think he's way better than Chilwell right now for me.
In terms of Chilwell, in your opinion, Shrey, is he really, really that much of an upgrade from Emerson and Alonso that we have, or even Azpilicueta? Like, is he miles better than all 3?
See, he's not even. I think he's not even better than them, because I think again, Blue Footy account put some stats yesterday on Alonso, Emerson, and Chilwell, and if you see the stats, you will see that Alonso and Emerson have been better than him.
Wow.
And I think the thing is, if you remember Emerson, like Ajay put it for Chilwell, I think Emerson really started the season well. He had 2 months where I think we all were thinking that Emerson could be the next Ashley Cole for us.
Yes.
But after that, he has fallen off the cliff. And Alonso is a game changer. There's no one available right now for me in the world who can score goals like him. But I think he suits 3 at the back, not 4 at the back for me with Marcus Alonso.
Yeah, spot on, man. Marcus Alonso, 3 at the back. Him as a wing back. I don't think there's a better wing back. He's such a better wing back. And look, him going forward is a lot better than him going in defense. I think
going
in
at
defense,
the back.
He lacks so massively in defense. But going forward, especially when he gets into the goal scoring opportunity, he is not shy. He will pull the trigger, and he will score most times. Then again, there's a lot of facets that I don't like of Alonso when he goes forward. Like, he's not really good with crosses. Every now and then. His pace is not explosive. He looks very lazy. Every now and then he'll put on a nice cross. But every time there's a goal-scoring opportunity, he will eat it up. He will eat it up. That's what I like. That's what I like about Alonso. Final thoughts on Shrey in regards to Ben Chilwell. Makes sense? Realistic?
I think it's realistic because I think Frank really likes him. We have seen many people reporting it. But I think for me, if it makes sense, for me, see, again, I've said he's a good player. He has the potential. So we should not abuse the player because he has got a good potential in him. But if it really makes sense for me for a 60 odd million, it doesn't, because we want a player. For me, the problem we have is we have got Reece James, who for me attackingly is very good, but defensively he still has some flaws in his game, but he will develop it. We have 2 centre-backs in a team. We have to remember centre-backs are not that good, to be honest.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah.
So I really want a left-back who can really defend and attack. Like, there has to be balance in a team, which I think we are lacking.
No, spot on.
And I think Chilwell doesn't fit any profile. He's not that much attacking, and defensively he's caught out sometimes. So he doesn't fit any profile of a left back we need.
Yeah, and especially for 60 million.
60 million.
60 to 65 pounds just doesn't make sense.
That's a lot.
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's a lot, man. And no, that's good. Looks like we've all agreed on that one in the sense that he's probably realistic because Frank likes him. There's been strong rumours around him, but someone just doesn't make sense. I think we can all agree that he had a very good season to start off with, and he fell off. And to be honest, as both of you guys have said, both going forward and defensively, he's not 60 to 65 million worth. He's just not that worth of money. Fantastic. Well, boys, before we close up, I would like to give you guys the opportunity to say, what you guys do in social media and where we can find you in Twitter. So everyone who's listening can find you guys there. Obviously, I'm going to provide the links in description as well. But start off with AJ. Anything you wanna let us know what you're up to?
Pretty much nothing at the moment. But on Twitter, I'm always open for a conversation about football, man. Like that's been one thing that it's always been there throughout my life ever since I was younger. So at Twitter, obviously, my name's Ajay Franklin. It's pretty simple. And yep, I'm always open for a conversation if anyone's interested.
Brilliant, man. And Shrey?
Yeah, for me, I'm same. I'm really open to conversation, and you can find me by Shrey765 at Twitter. We all are open to conversation, and we all want to interact with the Chelsea community.
Brilliant, man. Brilliant. Fantastic. Yes. I'll definitely provide the links for both of you guys in this particular video, and to all the people that are listening and to the wider fan base, Chelsea's fan base, and all the followers of the Blue Stands. Give these two individuals a follow. They're honestly are very, very good people, good accounts, and a couple of people that I've actually known for a very long time now. They've always interacted with everything that I tweet out, and they've always been respectful, and that's all I can really ask for in this particular platform. So yeah, once again, thank you to everyone that's listened. Hopefully you guys had an enjoyable episode. Hopefully we've brought some sort of perspective on some of these recent rumors. Please share your thoughts and opinions. Comment on the YouTube video section and let us know what your thoughts are on some of these rumors that we've talked about. And of course, please subscribe, hit the like button, hit also the bell notification when these episodes do get uploaded, so you're always up to date on our content. Until next time, have a very, very good weekend and stay safe. See you later. Bye.